So there it is right there. I'm going to pause it. 6.7 billion points with Luke Skywalker. I'm Travis Murray with the Pinball Company, and I know what you guys are thinking. If you've played Star Wars Pinball before, you're definitely either a Han player, you're an R2-D2 player, or you play Leia. This is basically one of those things in pinball, especially competitive pinball, that is hotly debated. Everybody has their different strategies, and most everybody puts Luke in the corner as if it's just one of those toys off Toy Story that you just don't want to play with anymore, right? Everybody's got the Buzz Lightyear and they're putting Woody in the corner, but I'm telling you right now, there is something to Luke that I think is valuable. I'm still not quite sure if I would say it's valuable to the point that I would want to use it all the time, but I think with certain setups, there's actually some validity to using Luke Skywalker as a character on Star Wars Pinball, and we're going to talk about that today. Just to give a quick primer for everybody, I'm sure there's lots of people out there that know the rule set by now, but just in case you don't or you need a reminder, we're going to go over that right now so everybody knows what's going on and we're all on the same page with it. The thing about Star Wars is to keep in mind this whole game is entirely around, it just surrounds the multipliers, okay? You're going to ride the lightning the whole entire game. You cannot trap up, you cannot play slow. The way that this game works, you have to play fast and you have to take risk. That's, I mean, for me personally, that's why I thoroughly enjoy this game. Just the idea that you're kind of forced to take action. That's what I love about this game. So keep that in mind. You're always going to be forced to push the action. And that's especially if you want to score a lot of points. So this whole entire system it just surrounds around the multiplier system. So when we're talking about the multipliers, at all major shots, there are inserts there that indicate the multiplier. Now, if it's green, that means it's on. If it's red, that means it's off. And you use the action button in order to turn on and off the multiplier. And of course, you use your flipper buttons to move the multiplier around the playfield. So keep that in mind. If you want to score a lot of points, you have to do this. Now, that 3 bank stand-up target that's right there underneath the LCD screen, that's what you're going to use in order to increase the multipliers. And with the multipliers, there is a caveat that a lot of people don't realize it's there. And I know for the longest time, I didn't even realize it's there. So with the multipliers, the baseline in competition mode is 10x and the baseline in standard is 20x. Now you can double this through different actions in the game that we'll get to here a little bit later during this gameplay, but you can go up to 20x in competition or 40x in standard. The caveat with this is that whenever you're between 2 and 4x, you will have 3 inserts that can possibly be lit for the multipliers. And once you get above that, I believe it's 5 to 9 in competition standard. It might even be a little bit different, of course, but in competition between 5 and 9, you'll have 2 inserts that are possible to be multipliers. But if you get to, I believe it's 10x, you only have 1 that's available. All right. So if you're using R2-D2, and again, we're using Luke, but if you're using R2-D2, those multipliers tend to stay out there not only a little bit longer, but they're actually sprayed out there a little bit more because you can get higher X's and leave your inserts out there. They don't extinguish, basically is what I'm saying. And I forget which way it goes off the top of my head. I think it's from the left side. So if you have 3, the one on the far left is the one that will go away. I'm pretty sure that's it. Might be wrong. We'll watch this video and we'll find out. So that's the way the multipliers work. And you have to constantly check in with them. Okay. That's a big, big deal with that. So on top of that, other big deals are you have to shoot major shots in order to light your planet modes for hero missions. I say planet modes, but they're basically lighting planets for hero missions. And that's kind of the way that mechanic works, where you got the Death Star at the far left, you got Endor at the left ramp, you got Hoth on the right-hand horseshoe right there, and you got Tatooine, which typically is one of the last ones people do unless you're running some type of R2-D2 type strat, and that's on the far right with the scoop. Now, of course, we're talking about Luke, so one of the things that you're going to see me focus on right here is Hoth. And I'm going to use Endor a lot because, or at least the Endor ramp, because one of the principles is you can go ahead and light the Endor modes, but you can use the Endor ramp once you do that in order to play the other hero missions on other planets or from other planets. And the reason why this is important is because then you'll return the ball back to your left flipper in a very controlled manner. You don't have to worry about the feed coming from the mini loop, either from Hoth. You don't have to worry about on a premium, the Death Star shot just coming right back down that little fork ramp. That could be dangerous at times. And then, of course, Tatooine and the far right scoop. Very dangerous in competition. Sometimes the ball save is not on, and that feed will go straight down the middle. Very frustrating, but those are things that you need to be aware of. So the principle is try to use the indoor ramp as much as possible to start all your hero missions. Just use that as just a way just to keep under control. Also, one other thing I said last but not least, but technically second to last but not least, this is last but not least. We are also going to focus a lot with Luke on the force targets, because one of the reasons why we want to use Luke, because he can actually make, or his character makes your lightsaber duel worth so much more. And if you don't know what lightsaber duel is, essentially that's, I guess you could call it a mini wizard mode or even a wizard mode, but it's a mode in which after you finish all the force targets there on the left-hand side and you spell force, that will light that insert that says lightsaber duel, and you can start that mode right there. And that's the only thing it's in. You can't stack anything else with it, but it can be worth a whole lot of points. And so your main focus overall is not just getting to that, but just using the force targets to your advantage to get video mode going, to get double multipliers going, which we were talking about just a second ago. Those are just all things that you want to have come together that can equal out to be a massive game on Star Wars. Now, this particular gameplay, I am on a premium. A premium typically plays a little bit more difficult than a pro. On a pro, you don't have the hyperspace loop that is basically a feed from the Death Star to where the ball will just go round and round and round. You won't have that. And I think there's probably a couple other things. I mean, obviously the ramps are a little bit different in terms of plastic and steel, but that's the main thing, is that hyperspace loop. And because of that, it makes the pro play a little bit easier. But on this particular model right here, everything is pretty much set up to default. It might even be slightly easier in that. So keep that in mind when you're watching it. This particular strategy that I'm going to do, it is via competition mode. So I got to check in on my multipliers a lot more. But not only that, it's always a risky strategy. And Star Wars is always a risky game. So keep that in mind. Your mileage may vary. I don't know if this particular strategy will work, if the game is just set up like death, if you don't have a ball save, if outlanes are open, if tilt's tight. So again, mileage may vary. I'm not saying it's better than R2-D2. I'm not saying it's better than Han. I'm not saying it's better than Leia. But I am saying this is an option that if you're playing at home or even match play somewhere at a local league, you might be able to surprise some people with this, especially if the game's set to 40x. All right, let's go ahead and start. We got all that out of the way. So when you're playing with Luke, always start with +5 TIE fighters. That's what you want to do, because you will start your hurry up immediately at TIE fighters. So we want to hit our TIE fighter target, start hitting the crap out of the button over and over and over again. You go fast enough. I think you can max out at 24 TIE fighters total with that. So that's a good thing. Our goal is to get the 35 TIE fighters right now. Sometimes you have to get the 50 depending on setup, but for this particular game, 35, which is default, starts TIE Fighter Multiball. And the idea of TIE Fighter Multiball is you're going to follow on the stand-up targets. Anything that's blinking red, you hit that, that'll add to a TIE Fighter. All right, so keep that in mind as well. Any red insert you see out there adds to TIE Fighters. So we definitely want to do that. And then on top of that, we are looking at lighting Hoth, and we're looking at lighting Endor. So that's what you saw me do right there. Fell into Hoth, that's okay. I am going to go ahead and play Duel on Cloud City. Now again, a little bit risky, but I want to finish this off because the hero missions for Luke, you just need Hoth 2 and you'll be completely done, and you'll be able to play Escape from Hoth, which is the wizard mode attached, or the fourth mission for Hoth. Now on Duel on Cloud City, you want to hit the force targets 5 times, and that'll eventually light the Hoth shot for your final shot. However, I went with the Hyperspace Hurry Up, which is located at the right ramp. That is available for all characters as soon as you plunge, and it's very important that you get that out of the way. The reason for this is by the time you do your second one, that is a multi-ball, and it can be worth pretty significant points if you know what you're doing with that particular multi-ball. Another thing with this too is don't worry at all about the playfield multiplier at this point in time. It's okay if you use it a little bit, It's not necessarily needed though. So the end game here is I just wanted to get to escape from Hoth. I do that, I can make a lot of things go right. So my goal for now is immediately try to go after the force targets as fast as you can. You got to hit those a few times. You'll light your action button to be orange. That will be your add-a-ball for the 4th planet mission. Now you can save this add-a-ball for another 4th planet, but it just depends if you want to do that or not, if you want to bank it. So that's my goal right now. Now I have heard rumors before that Luke, I guess supposedly he has an add-a-ball in every single one automatically. I don't know. I haven't seen that before. Could be wrong. I don't know. But either way, when you're playing Escape from Hoth, essentially you just want to follow blue shots, hit those a few times. You'll hit the loops or the mini loops a couple of times. You'll hit the orbits a couple of times, and then you'll hit ramps a couple of times to eventually light the Hoth shot for your final shot. All right, right there, we just used our add-a-ball. And another thing to keep in mind, again, everything stacks right here. All right, super important. Everything stacks, and that's why you see TIE Fighter Multiball happening right now. So when you're in this, you got choices. You can either keep going after shots on Escape from Hoth, you can start focusing on multipliers, or you can play out the TIE Fighter. I personally want to keep trying to finish Hoth, and there's a huge reason for this. And the reason why I want to finish my escape, oh, there's a ball in the shooter lane right there. Got it out. But the reason why I want to finish this is because once I do this, I can finally, and there's my final shot, Escape from Hoth is done, Victory Multiball starts. Here's why it's important. I can finally start working on my force targets to start making progress towards Lightsaber Duel, towards video mode, towards double multipliers. So what I like to do in this spot is I sell out for the force targets. I'm already at 10x. You see me going for those. I don't care about anything else. On top of that, every single time I finish the stand-up targets that are around the playfield and advance my Jedi, that actually spots a force letter. A lot of people don't realize that. It does spot a force letter. So when you go up to like Youngling, Padawan, so on and so forth, you do so many. It's kind of like the frenzy on Jaws. So right there, we just sped run that. And even though we're still in this multi-ball, we have doubled multipliers, but you notice the insert for Lightsaber Duel is flashing. So that's going to be available for me as soon as I get out of this multi-ball. And you always want to check in with the multiplier. At this point, you have to focus on multiplier, because if you lose that doubler and you let it extinguish, you're back down to 2 and your goose is kind of cooked with this particular strategy. So you got to keep going. Another thing to notice, just like we talked about, there's only one possible shot out there that I could multiply. So we're getting into Lightsaber Duel. I have my multiplier set to where I want it because I know I'm going to work the mini loops, but I also know I got to check in. So this is where the points are going to really start going up, and you'll notice this immediately. A lot more difficult in competition. You got a slight grace period. Thankfully, we got it. Again, a lot easier on standard because those multipliers will last a lot longer and they go up a lot higher. So we're just ripping through shots as much as we can, trying to add time. This is the one time we want to play Lightsaber Duel. So just like that, we're closing in on 2 billion. We're going to sell over 2 billion. And I think this happens pretty quick to where it doesn't catch it, lets it go. So right here, 1.4 billion. And now we still got our multiplier going and we have video mode ready to go out of this. And if you notice, we also have our next hyperspace ready to go because we completed enough rebel inserts, which is the end lanes that you can use to move around anytime you go over. So, or anytime you go over an end lane switch. So this is how you cook it right here. Again, I don't know if this would work too well against high level competition or in high level. I'm not sure yet. I've never tried this with just an insanely tough setup pin at a high level tournament. I'm curious though. I'm very tempted to do it just to see what happens, but I don't know. I enjoy something different than just doing the R2-D2 strat or the Han strat or Leia all the time. There's just something different. So from here, we have indoor lit. Typically at this point, I have some options available. It's either I try to cash in a giant hyperspace, which I'm going to do right here. Accidentally go into the left ramp. I'm going to pass that. I probably should have went ahead and took my mode, because once I complete this hyperspace, it's going to start a multi-ball. But at the same time, you, the viewer, you get to see kind of how this works. To where you see the hurry up counting down. We can keep hitting the right ramp to start increasing it again. We can hit the stand-up targets to kind of pause it, increase it a little bit. And there's our cash in. So now that we cashed in, that's nearly 1 billion points right there. And on top of that, we got to get it back into that hyperspace loop. If we do that again, another ball gets to the shooter lane, comes out. We got to still check back in with our multiplier. Always be checking in with the multiplier. Otherwise, we will lose that doubler. We don't want to do that at this point. We want to try to keep it going for as long as possible. And that's just the risk reward right there. And when I talk about riding the lightning earlier, this is exactly it. Now for this, I think I don't play this very well at all, but at times you can build this up to be pretty significant, to where you can get over 500 million, clear up to 1 billion if you do it right. And there's just so much going on at this point. Probably going to drain out pretty quick. I think it's still a little over 300 million right there. Yeah, 367 million. So right there, 4.6 billion. And logically speaking, I think we've played one hero mission so far, which is Duel in Cloud City. Now, here's what's cool about Escape on a premium. You do Escape, which is an outlaying ball save. You get to pick what you're like. You get to treat it like a skill shot all over again. I chose Light Death Star or whatever it was. Very important to do that. The reason for this is Death Star 1 is Rescue the Princess, which is by far the most overpowered hero mission that there is, in my opinion. It's a 4-shot hurry up. Points can just go burr. It's awesome. But for now, I think instead of just playing that, I think I combine it with Speeder Bike Chase, which sometimes you can do. Certain setups allow you to cross-pollinate modes like this. Others don't. Other times you just have to play one. If you have a choice, always play Rescue the Princess, because it's a hurry up that starts at 2 million and starts counting down. But what's important is whatever your multiplied value is from the first shot you hit, that's what it'll be for your next shot. And this caps out at 25 million. So like right now I'm at 11.2 million, and now I'm capped out at 25. But what's cool is somehow, I don't know quite how this works, but you can put the game in such a state that the hurry up pauses. And I think we see that here in just a few. Yeah, it's paused at 23 million and 200 some odd change, or right around there, with the 20x doubler still going. So I'm looking at trying to hit a Death Star shot in the left orbit. I've already hit the right mini loop and the right ramp so far. So here's where significant points comes in. That's a 460 million point shot right there. The next one could be very similar if I could hit it in time. And I'm not even going to talk about the speeder bike one, which should be me just hitting ramps essentially in that particular mode. Okay, you hear it counting down, it's counting down. Hopefully I can check in last second. And again, timer is paused. So right here, I'm opting to try for the hurry up. I'm missing the hurry up, and I'm losing my multiplier. Hopefully I get it back. And I got a TIE Fighter hurry up also that was worth 100 million at the time. Like I said, just a lot stacks very quickly. All right, so we're out of Rescue the Princess, and because TIE Fighter's up, we didn't get to see that value, but I promise you it was fairly significant. And we're going to see that right after I collect this TIE Fighter. And I drain immediately. That's okay, though. All right, let's see where we end up here. We'll take our bonus. And we are at, let's see, 208. So there it is right there. I'm going to pause it. 6.7 billion points with Luke Skywalker. Again, setup, it's all relevant to what your setup is. I'm not saying you can just do this all the time, but what I'm saying is it's possible. It is possible. There is a path there, there is a lot of risk there. I need to play it a little bit more to determine if this could be a legit viable strategy under competition. I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence about that, but just for doing something a little bit different on Star Wars, it's not the same old R2-D2 and Han strat. Just, it's just something different. It's a different roadmap. It's a different path. And there is point value with Luke Skywalker in this. And I know I think this game, I ended up somewhere around 13 or 14 billion with him. I think 13 billion with him. So again, as long as you can get your multipliers up to 10, 20x, you keep going through that, you just play through the game, you will score a lot of points. And I know that's easier said than done, but hopefully everybody sees this and kind of knows, well, wait, there's something a little bit different to this. There's a different way to play this. And especially if you have this game at home, try out all the different characters, see what they do, because they all do achieve something radically different from each other. And that's, to me, in my opinion, that's what makes this game fun, because you're having to play fast, you're having to play out of control, you're having to take risk. And yeah, to me, that just kind of embodies Star Wars in general. It's a crazy fun time. And yeah, that's all there is to that. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.